Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of the Usagi Podjimbo podcast. I'm your host, Mike. As always, we are looking at Usagi Yojimbo. This is my first time reading through this series. We're going to talk about it, discuss it a little bit, but I'm going to tell you what exactly is going on. But we are looking right now at Volume 3 of Usagi Yojimbo Origins. Particularly, we are looking at Chapter 3 of the Dragon Bellow Conspiracy, titled Downpour. If you don't know exactly what's going on at this moment in the series, go back and listen to my previous episodes of the podcast. But right now, we have Usagi trying to infiltrate the Tamakuro castle where he is gathering all these Ronins because he wants to basically take over as like the new Shogun, and he's trying to overtake Japan basically. Uh, and he has in all these different characters within Usagi Yojimbo, like Tomoe Ame, I can't say that, Gin and Zatuino are all coming or are already there uh, uh, to this big thing that's basically that story, overarching story that's happening. And when we last left off, Tomoe is captured by our lord at this moment, Lord Tamakuro, the evil pig guy, basically. And we see Usagi is fighting with this guy. His name is Tokohana, and Tokohana is the best spearman that Tamakuro has at this moment. And Tamakuro and what's his name? He has a name. This guy's name is Torame, and Torame is basically like the right hand man, the captain to Tamakuro and his samurai army that he has at the moment. And they're watching Usagi fight this spearman Takahana, and they're talking about it how Tamakuro thinks that Usagi won't win because he doesn't have a lot of fight in him, but the other guy, he I totally forgot his name. I always forget these names. I'll to be honest. Tohana thinks that Usagi has a lot of fight in him because you can see it in his eyes, and they happen to place a bet. And as they're talking and discussing this fight, it's really funny. Tohana says, "Oh, look, the fight's over." Or Torame, sorry. I don't know why I said Tohana. Torame tells Lord the Lord that the fight's over, and they think that Usagi has the best. I don't want to say gumption or like training or whatever to possibly be groomed in a way to basically make him like an officer or a captain within the samurai army. And that's where they think they're going to go with this. So Torame is tasked with basically getting Usagi to join up in the ranks and basically be part of this samurai rebellion, I guess you could say. We transition from that, so we see Gin, and Gin meets up with the two young women who actually happen to see Zatu Ino prior before, and he's complaining that it's cold and stuff like that. And he hears the two young women talking. They're actually at like a rest stop, and he's like, they're like, oh, we hear we that guy was so nice at the hot springs. Yeah, blind swords pig. And he's like, oh, excuse me, were you ladies talking about the blind swords pig? And they're like, oh yeah, he was such a nice pig. And they're like, Genichi says, oh, where was he? He's like, oh, they're like, oh, he was at a hot springs with us. He was so nice and stuff. He's like, oh, a hot spring. And you're like, yeah, we left him soon before the storm hit. So Genichi basically gets ready to leave, and he is propositioned by these two women to be like, hey, stay with us, have a fun time. I'm starting to think that these girls, these ladies, are not what they say they are. I'm curious to find out if they're actually like bad guys or not, because this is the second time they've shown up and they've shown interest in Genosuke and Zatu, maybe for good reasons, maybe like a love you long time type of reason. I don't know, but like I get like really like weird vibes from these two girls. Um, so again, it goes off, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go find this guy. I gotta go back into the cold. I hate the cold. I can't stand it." We leave Genosuke and we go back to Usagi, and it's downpouring, starting to rain. Usagi is talking to Tohana, and Tohana starts to talk about like what exactly Lord Tamakuro is exactly doing, and what's basically what he wants to have happen and stuff like that. I don't know. I keep saying Tohama. Torama. Torama is talking to Usagi. It's not Tohana. I don't know. Maybe I was watching some Lilo and Stitch the other day. Maybe got Ohana mixed with Tohana. I don't know. But we are moving on. Usagi asks exactly why are there a bunch of people coming and leaving and stuff like that. Like what's going on? Why are they doing all these drills and stuff like that? And he starts to talk to Torama, and Torama tells him like, "Oh, like it's nonsense. There's nothing going on really. The Shogun wants peace in the land. Stuff like that. Lord Tamakuro just believes in being prepared." Usagi's like, "Prepared?" He's like, he is an ancient lineage of warriors. I'm guessing being Tamakuro or Torama. I'm not really for sure exactly. I reread it, and he's talking about Lord Tamakuro, saying he's a descendant from a bunch of ancient warriors and stuff like that, and he wants the warrior's tradition of combat readiness and stuff like that. And Usagi tells him it's very commendable, and we get this big, I don't want to say long backstory of Torama talking about how his family has served Tamakuro's family for like generations and stuff like that, and he starts to talk to Usagi, and he asks Usagi, "Do you know like which?" He's like, "Do you learn? Did you learn the old warrior riddle? Which more exemplifies Bushido?" And he's like, "A samurai who serves a good and fair lord, or one who faithfully serves a wicked lord?" And Usagi replies, "The one who is loyal to his evil lord. Of course, loyalty is the first principle of Bushido." And Usagi kind of laughs. He's like, "Oh, I haven't heard that since I was a kid. And uh, Torama says, "Do you know this one? There is even a circumstance when rebellion against one's lord can be justified." And Usagi's like, "Never. It can never be justified." And Torama says, but it can be justified if the rebellion succeeds." So I kind of wonder exactly what he's talking about exactly in this particular statement. Is he talking about Tamakuro? I believe he's talking about Tamakuro and Tamakuro's rebellion against the Shogun. But does Torama know that there's another rebellion with trying to take over Tamakuro at this moment? Is he talking about Usagi? Does he know that Usagi is a spy? I'm not really for sure about that. Who knows? But it's really interesting to see. Then we get Zatuino, and Zatuino is wandering around with Spot, his loyal Takage companion. We haven't seen them in. We saw them like last issue, but they haven't had a lot of love in this particular story. I mean, they have a little bit, but we see them very sporadically. He's talking about, it's bad that the weather is washing away all the scents and stuff like that. And he's like, "Spot, where are you going? What's going on? I'm having a hard time smelling because I got my nose cut off by Usagi." If you don't remember that, Usagi cut off Zatuino's nose in a duel. So Zatuino has a prosthetic, like, wooden nose tied around his face, it looks funny, but it's kind of cool. And we see Spot run up to this, like, grass, like, cape or, like, poncho. I can't remember what they're called. and it's the one that Usagi was wearing in his fight with Shinji. And Zatoichi happens to find it, and he smells it. And he's like, "Oh, this smells really interesting, but I can't really put my finger on it. Like, what does it smell like?" I like this little detail that Stan Sakai put in the book, where we see remnants of what happened between Usagi and Shinji. Where there's like little throwing stars like embedded in the trees. Obviously, Zatoichi can't see them, but Zatu and Spot are off to wherever they're actually trying to go. Because I don't remember. I remember they're looking for peace, like a peaceful place to call their own. But I don't remember where they're going exactly in this particular story, to say the least. And so we go back to Tamakuro and Torama, and they are talking and talking about how Tamakuro says it's almost ready time to move against the Shogun. And he says that, the woman who is in their prison, they have no use for her now, and they're basically going to execute her. He even says to go crucify her. And Lord Torama says, okay, Torama says, okay, we'll crucify her, basically, as you say. This part I actually really like in the book. So Usagi is looking for Tomoe, or Tomoe. I say it's Tomoe. I don't want to say Tomoe. Tomoe. He's looking for Tomoe, and he's like, "Oh, I know she's located here somewhere." And we see Usagi is drenching wet, goes up to the prison uh, gate where the prisoners are held, and these two guards are like, "Halt! Who goes there?" And he's like, Usagi says, "Captain Tarame told me to check in on the female prisoner." He's like, "But no one is supposed to see her," they say. He's like, "Are you questioning me? Are you questioning my authority of what Captain Tarame said to do? Are you questioning me?" And he's like, "Oh, no, of course not. We'll let you in. We'll go with you." And he's like, "No, you are not going with me whatsoever." You see like the anger in Usagi's face. I really like this scene. He's very much calling their bluff, which I think it's really cool to see this side of Usagi, this more sneaky, deceiving side to Usagi. Even though he is like doing the right thing by getting Tomoe out of this situation, I like seeing Usagi being really resourceful in this matter, in this situation. I feel like Usagi is basically so just as surprised as I am that the bluff actually works. Like his lie works, and he goes down into the prison cells. He finds Tomoe surround with a Tsukage, to be exact. So I wonder how the Tsukage got in there. But Usagi sees Tomoe, and Tomoe is visibly beaten and broken. Like she is worse for wear. And she's like, "Why are you wearing Lord Tamakuro's like uniform?" And he's like, "Oh, I had to infiltrate them to find you, to infiltrate the fortress to find you." And she's like, "I was sent by Lord Noriyuki to find out what exactly is going on." You find out that Lord Tamakuro is having this rebellion, and he's got these guns. I killed a Neko ninja who was employed by Lord Akiji. She basically breaks down everything that basically happened in the very first issue for her in this storyline. I was captured before I could get the information to Lord Noriyuki. He's like, Usagi's like cuts her off. He's like, "Turn around. I'm gonna help you." And Tomoe is just like, "No, you got to go. If Lord Noriyuki or Lord Tamakuro suspects anything, the plan of his." Goes through, nothing will stop him, stuff like that. I feel like she seems to be more worried about Usagi than herself in this moment, which is very commendable, I would say, for Tomoe. But we see these other guards show up, and they're like, "Oh, we're here to get the prisoner for execution." Like, what? Somebody's already in there seeing her, and they put two and two together finally, and they go down, and Usagi protects Tomoe and fights off these guards in a really cool, quick like fight scene, which is really cool to see him like single-handedly take out three guys with both of his swords. He normally doesn't do that with both of his swords, but he takes him out, cuts him, and he's like, you're like, okay, let's go. We gotta go. The time for secrecy has passed. Like, let's get out of this place. Tomoe ends up telling Usagi that, hey, you should have left me and go report to Lord Noriyuki. And Usagi's like, let you get killed? No, we're not going to let you get killed. He's like, fool, as Tomoe says, fool, now we will die together. She is very angry. But I love this scene. We see the guards, they're talking, they're kind of commenting about what exactly is going on, why they're out in the rain and stuff like that. And we see them, hey, after this, you want to go grab like a drink, grab some sake and stuff like that. And we see Tomoe and Usagi burst out of the door, fighting the guards, getting on these horses, uh, running for their lives basically to get out of this terrible situation. And we see the Captain Tomoe, finds out that Usagi has become a traitor and helped Tomoe escape. And he's like, oh, I knew this guy was a fucking traitor, And we see Usagi and Tomoe running, like, seal the gates, seal the gates. Usagi gets through the gate, but Tomoe basically uses her foot and kicks the gate closed to buy Usagi some time, and Usagi is shocked, and she's like, oh no, she shut the gate behind me. He's like, Tomoe, you fool. And he's like, I'll meet you in another life, my friend. So she is willing to die for this cause. And Usagi is trying to get away to get to Lord Noriyuki. And Usagi says, I can't let her sacrifice go in vain. There's this weird bubble in this picture of Usagi riding on a horse with these arrows going by him. At just a slight glance, I thought the horse was kind of talking at this moment, because it says, I've got to warn Lord Noriyuki. For a moment, I thought the horse was saying, I got to warn Lord Noriyuki, but that's actually Usagi. That was just me thinking of weird stuff. And Tomoe hears Usagi leaving, and Tomoe is like, yeah, I'll get them, seal the gates. Tomoe puts up a very valiant effort in this situation. She's cutting, slashing, riding through the fortress on the horse. She gets to this one area, swings the door open, closes it. They're like, oh, she sealed herself in. And you see her, she pries up the boards from the floor, and it looks like she's going to go through them. And this is a funny scene where the guards and Tomoe are there and like, okay, go in there, go get her, they say. And they're like, but whoever goes in there first, she's going to kill them, which I thought was pretty funny to hear. Tomoe ends up swinging the door open, and he sees that nobody's there, so they suspect that, Tomoe ended up going through the hole that she made in the floor. They're like, okay, go find her where this leads to. And they leave, and they find out that Tomoe never actually went through the hole. She's actually in a box next to the hole. They were stupid enough to think that she just went down. So very tricky, interesting trick that Tomoe actually pulled off. We see these guards out in the rain. They're patrolling. They see these fires that are lit at the castle, and the fires are off. Or, it says to I think they're like a scouting patrol, if I remember correctly. They notice that the signal fires are on, actually, and they're like, oh, it says to close the borders, and they're like, oh, a rider is approaching. And we see Usagi with this sword drawn in epic fashion, I might have to say. Epic fashion. Usagi is riding, and Usagi takes out these guys on this horse. A fucking cool scene. It just looks really cool. One of the guys looks like he actually punches one of the horses in the face in one of these panels. That's what it kind of looks like. Which the look on the horse's face is like, what? Like, what's going on? But Usagi gets thrown from the horse, tumbles, and you see one of the guys, he the samurai goes up to raise his sword, and out of nowhere we see ninja stars get thrown into this guy. He has a funny face, very similar to the horse. He's like, what? I just died, type of thing. And you see the ninja stars going into him, which is a really cool scene. I like the way Stan Sakai actually drew this. And Usagi is coughing, and he is like, I must get to Lord Noriyuki. And he's like, who are you? And he faints. And he's like, Shinji? And he ends up passing out. And who we find out is it's Shinji, the guy who was trying to kill Usagi, just ended up saving Usagi. And that is the end of this chapter or issue for the Dragon Bellow Conspiracy, Chapter 3. This issue was freaking crazy. I do feel like it does build on everything that's come before. It's really starting to tie everything together, and it's very much like it is the middle part of the story, but like things are starting to develop and interweave with each other. We still don't have Genosuke and Zatoino fully in this story, but what we get is Tomoe and Usagi and their valiant effort of fighting and trying to get through this this conspiracy, and see what they have to go through, the trickery and stuff like that they have to go through to pull everything off just to survive, just to get to Lord Noriyuki to tell him, hey, this is what's going on. This is what Tamakuro is doing and what's going to happen. And, this is all the stuff we've been through and stuff like that. It was a crazy read. Definitely recommend checking this story out. I'm really looking forward to the next one, which is chapter 4, which is, what is it called? Let's see. It is called Thunder and Lightning. And oh boy, this one looks like it's going to be good. But yeah, that's where we end off on this particular volume. I was really interested to see where this is going to go further on. And I feel like for the first big overarching story, Stan Sakai is hitting it out of the park at this moment. Because I'm like, oh my God, I got to read the next issue. And we'll be doing that next episode. But thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Sorry for the name pronunciations. I forget some of the characters' names when it comes to people who aren't normally in the issues. If you're just like one-off characters like Torame and stuff like that. And some of the pronunciations, I'm sorry if I mispronounce people's names. But yeah, this was like such an intense issue. Like I was like, oh man, like how are they going to get out of this particular situation? But yeah, thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed. You can find me on Facebook at Usagi Podjimbo and Usagi Yojimbo Podcast. You can find me there, message me there, and stuff like that. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast, whatever podcast platform you are on. If you leave a review, I'll gladly read the review on the episode. Whenever I record again, the best way to support the podcast is to listen and share with your friends and stuff like that. That's the best way to help grow my podcasts. If you really enjoy the podcast, thanks for listening. But we'll see you guys on the next episode. And stay safe and go read some Usagi Yojimbo.